You walk out of a dark movie theater into the blazing afternoon sun, or you step out of your dim house on a bright morning, or you just glance up at a clear, dazzling sky. And instantly, before you can even think about it, it happens. Your face scrunches, your eyes squeeze shut, and ah-CHOO. A sneeze. Maybe two. Maybe a whole rapid-fire burst of them. Not because of dust, not because of pollen, not because of a cold, just because you looked at something bright. Now, one of two things is happening as you listen to this. Either you're nodding along, thinking, yes, finally someone is talking about this, I do this every single time, or you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about and you think I'm making it up. And that divide is the first clue to the whole mystery, because sneezing at the sun splits humanity almost cleanly in two. If you have it, it feels totally normal and obvious. If you don't, it sounds absurd. What could light possibly have to do with sneezing? And here's the thing, this isn't rare and it isn't imaginary. Somewhere between 10 and 35% of all people do this, so roughly 1 in every 4. It's common enough that it has an official medical name, and the name is one of the greatest things in all of science because some researcher clearly had a sense of humor. It's called the photic sneeze reflex, but its other name is an acronym, ACHOO. That stands for Autosomal Dominant Compelling Helio-Ophthalmic Outburst Syndrome. They literally reverse engineered a serious-sounding medical term so it would spell out the sound of a sneeze. And every word of that name is a clue to what's really going on, which we'll unpack. Because when you actually stop and think about it, this makes no sense. A sneeze is supposed to be your nose's emergency response. It's what happens when something gets up in there, dust, pepper, a stray hair, and your body needs to violently blast it out. But light doesn't touch your nose. Light lands on your eyes. There is nothing physically in your nostrils when you step into the sun. So why on earth would a bright light aimed at your eyeballs trigger an explosion in your nose? That is the puzzle. And it turns out the answer is a beautiful little glimpse into how your nervous system is actually wired, or maybe I should say miswired. So let me walk you through it. By the end, you'll understand what a sneeze truly is, the 2,000-year-old mystery that stumped even the greatest ancient philosophers, the leading theory about crossed wires deep in your face, why you either have this or you don't, and why this silly little quirk is literally written into your DNA. Let's start with how old this mystery is, because it is genuinely ancient. This is not some new discovery. Over 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle was already scratching his head about it. He asked in writing why the heat of the sun makes us sneeze. His guess was that the sun warmed the nose and somehow drew out moisture that triggered the sneeze. Not quite right, but hey, decent effort for 350 BC. Then, roughly 2,000 years later, the English philosopher Francis Bacon came along and did something clever. He actually tested it. Aristotle had blamed the sun's heat. But Bacon reasoned if it were the heat warming your face, then facing the sun with your eyes closed should still make you sneeze. So he tried it. He faced the sun with his eyes shut, and no sneeze. The moment he opened his eyes to the light, the urge came back. So Bacon proved it wasn't the heat at all. It was the light entering the eyes. He landed on a different wrong answer. He thought the light made the eyes water, and that moisture dripped down and tickled the nose. But he had made the crucial leap. The trigger was light, going in through the eyes. A philosopher in the year 1600 got closer than most people do today. So that's the setup. Light goes in the eyes, and somehow a sneeze comes out the nose. To understand how, we first need to be clear about what a sneeze actually is. A sneeze is one of the most powerful and coordinated reflexes your body has. Think of it as your respiratory system's ejector seat. Normally, it's triggered when the sensitive lining inside your nose detects an irritant. Special nerve endings in there fire off an alarm, and that alarm travels along a big, important nerve called the trigeminal nerve. The trigeminal nerve is basically the main sensory cable for your entire face. It carries feeling from your nose, your cheeks, your mouth, your eyes. That there's something in the nose signal races up the trigeminal nerve to a spot in your brainstem often called the sneeze center. And once the sneeze center decides it's go time, it orchestrates an incredibly complex sequence. You take a sharp breath in, your chest muscles and diaphragm contract hard, your throat closes, pressure builds, and then boom. It all releases in a violent, forceful blast of air out through your nose and mouth to eject whatever's bothering you. It's a whole body event, all to clear your nose. That's a normal sneeze. Now here's where it gets interesting, and here's the leading theory for why light sets it off. Remember that trigeminal nerve? The giant sensory cable for your face? Well, it runs right alongside another crucial nerve pathway, the one that controls your pupils. When bright light hits your eyes, your body has to react immediately to protect your retinas. Your pupils snap shut, constricting down to tiny points to let in less light. This is the pupillary light reflex, and it's automatic and fast. The signal to constrict those pupils is a big, sudden surge of nerve activity, and the pathway carrying that signal runs physically very close to the trigeminal nerve, the sneeze nerve. So the leading theory is this: it's a case of crossed wires. When you hit your eyes with a flood of bright light, you send a massive, sudden jolt down the pupil control pathway. And because that pathway is bundled so close to the trigeminal nerve, some of that signal bleeds over. Your brain gets this huge burst of activity from the region, and in some people, it misreads it. It essentially confuses "whoa," intense signal near the face nerve, for there's an irritant in the nose. And so it does what it always does with a nasal irritant. It fires the sneeze center and launches a sneeze. The light never touched your nose, but the electrical commotion of your eyes reacting to it spilled over into the sneeze circuitry, and your body sneezed at a threat that was never there. Think of it like crossed telephone lines, the old kind, where sometimes you'd faintly hear another conversation bleeding into your call. The signal meant for your pupils leaks into the line meant for your nose, and your brain picks up the wrong message. There's a second related version of this theory too. Constricting your pupils in bright light is handled by your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest autopilot we've talked about before. And some scientists think that when that system gets a big jolt to constrict the pupils, the activation overflows or generalizes to other nearby parasympathetic jobs, like the glands that make your nose run and your eyes water. So the same burst that shrinks your pupils accidentally revs up your nasal machinery, and that tips you into a sneeze. Either way, the core idea is the same: a strong signal in one channel spilling messily into a neighboring one. Your wiring is just a little too crowded in that particular corner, but here's the question that really makes this fascinating. Why do only some people sneeze at the sun and not others? If we all have these nerves bundled together, why doesn't everyone do it? And the answer is one of my favorite parts. It's genetic. You inherited this. Go back to that acronym, ACHOO. The very first word is autosomal dominant. That's a genetics term, and it means this trait is passed down directly from parent to child, and you only need to get the gene from one parent to have it. If one of your parents sneezes at the sun, there's roughly a 50-50 chance they passed it to you. This runs in families. In fact, the whole phenomenon was seriously studied in part because a researcher noticed it marching straight down his own family tree, generation after generation. Modern genetics has even started hunting down the specific culprits. Large DNA studies, including one by the company 23andMe, have pinpointed specific tiny variations in the genome that are strongly associated with being a sun sneezer. So this isn't a habit, and it isn't a choice. It's a specific quirk of neural wiring that is spelled out, at least partly, in your genetic code, and handed to you by your parents alongside your eye color and your height. Some people's brains are simply built with those two nerve pathways cross-talking a little more than others. And here's a wonderfully weird detail. Even the number of times you sneeze tends to run in families. If your dad reliably sneezes 3 times when he hits the sun, you might find you do exactly the same. So who does and doesn't sneeze at the sun isn't random at all. It's a little inherited signature of how your particular nervous system was assembled. Now you might be thinking this is all just a fun, harmless quirk. And mostly it is. But it's actually taken seriously in a few high-stakes situations, and this is where it stops being just a party fact. Think about a fighter pilot pulling up out of a bank of clouds and suddenly getting hit with blinding sunlight, and sneezing uncontrollably for a second or two while flying at hundreds of miles an hour. Think about a driver speeding out of a dark tunnel into bright daylight, eyes flooding with light, and losing vision to a sneeze at exactly the wrong moment. Even surgeons and athletes have to account for it. A sneeze takes your eyes and attention offline for a moment, and there are moments where that matters a lot. So militaries and researchers have genuinely studied the photic sneeze reflex, precisely because a harmless little quirk can become a real problem at the wrong time. But step back, and here's what I find so beautiful about the sun sneeze. We like to imagine our nervous system as a clean, tidy set of separate wires, each one carrying its own message, never interfering with the others. Vision over here, smell over there, everything neatly labeled and organized. But that's not what you are. You are a dense, wet, crowded tangle of billions of nerves packed impossibly close together, and sometimes signals bleed. Sometimes one channel is so loud that the wire next to it picks up the echo. The sun sneeze is one of the clearest, most everyday proofs that the boundaries inside your nervous system aren't perfect walls. They're more like thin partitions, and every so often a message leaks through. And unlike almost every other quirk of your wiring, this one you can actually catch in the act. You can't feel your pupils constricting. You can't feel your neurons firing. But if you're one of the 1 in 4, you can walk outside, tilt your face toward a bright sky, and watch your own crossed wiring announce itself out loud with a sneeze. It's a tiny, involuntary hello from a glitch you inherited, a piece of your parents living in your reflexes, a 2,000-year-old mystery firing off in your own face on a sunny afternoon. So the next time you step into the sunlight and feel that familiar tickle building, that irresistible, don't fight it. You're not allergic to the sun. Nothing is wrong with you. You're just feeling the moment where the signal for your eyes spills over into the wire for your nose, a harmless little crossed connection written into your DNA that a philosopher puzzled over before anyone knew what a nerve even was. And then go ahead, ACHOO, bless you.